Hey everyone, Tooth Collector Jurassic, and I'm here with a really cool new Jurassic World Rebirth toy that I'm going to be unboxing today. This is the much anticipated tail Thrasher Spinosaurus, one of the coolest new toys coming out for Jurassic World Rebirth because it's of a fan favorite species of Spinosaurus. It's going to have a whole new part in this new movie, and the toy itself looks like a ton of fun, and it's huge. I hope you get an idea of how big this thing is. And I'm of course going to be comparing it to some other figures. I'll compare it to the other Mattel Spinosaurus, D-Rex, new Rebirth T-Rex, you name it. We'll go ahead and do some size comparisons once we get this thing out of the box and check out all the cool action features, articulation, details, all that cool stuff. Cannot wait to dive in, but without going into that, let's go take a look at the packaging first, because I actually think, even though I've looked at some Jurassic World Rebirth toy packaging on the channel already, I really like this box as just like a classic feature dinosaur toy box. For one, it lets you see the entire figure snout to tail tip, which I think really gives you an idea of the impressive size of it. It lets you do the action feature, which lets the tail wag around the packaging. You have these cool call out with this like three-dimensional continuous rampage action, push me ×3. I love that you can try it out. It's got all these flashy little call outs, and hey, it even has the actual Spinosaurus artwork on the box. You know, sometimes they do that with these Rebirth toys. The T-Rex had T-Rex, Quetzalcoatlus had Quetzalcoatlus, D-Rex had D-Rex. So Spinosaurus has the same thing. Elsewhere, we got Jurassic World Rebirth logos, black on red. Then on the back here, we have another demonstration of the swinging tail action, the swing and chomp action, and then other figures available. Mosasaurus. Really wish I could get my hands on that one so I could do a comparison here of the Mosa between the Spino, because I'm pretty sure the Spino is going to be bigger than the Mosasaurus, which maybe isn't accurate to the movie, but this toy is just so large and in charge, but I love it. So let's go ahead and get it out and actually take a look at that size, you know, in hand out of the constraints of the box. Let me snip a couple things here. I have not opened this figure yet, so I'm not sure how complicated it is. It looks like there's another plastic snip down here by the leg to get, and then looks like there's one like foot piece that's locked in, which they like to do in these bigger figures. So if we just pop open this front panel here, we should be able to just unlock that foot. Nope. They're gonna make us rip a couple things. There we go. And then if I twist this, in theory, this foot should just pop out, but it's not. Here, let me try this. There we go. Okay. Whew. I was worried for a second. I was gonna have to pause the film and go off camera and work this guy out. But no, he came out all good here. Wow, this thing is awesome. Wow, really cool form factor here, getting it sort of balanced and taking a look at the proportions. First thing I noticed is that the feet are like nice and small for a Mattel Jurassic figure. Not something that we saw the last few years of toys, but these are actually proportional with the figure itself. It stands really well. This angle, my table's kind of wobbly, but it does stand. Let's see. Let's go ahead and play with their base articulation here, right? We've got an idea of the scale. Nice long figure. The tail action is completely tied up with the action feature, which we'll get to, but it is kind of fun that it like flops around as you play with it. The legs are independent ratchets, but it looks like it's a very, very limited movement, as in you have this pose and you have an upward pose, and that's about it. I don't think it can do anything else. Can't bend down. At least my figure, it doesn't want to bend down. Literally has those two poses. So that really, you know, limits you for action figure photography from a leg articulation standpoint. Now for the arms, a lot more motion here. You can do, you know, all the way up on the body. You can rotate them outward. So definitely have more of it there. And then the neck, of course, and the jaws are all attached to that action feature. So truth be told, not a ton of our action articulation, but this thing does have a somewhat neutral pose if you can get the action feature to stop. Oops. stop in the right place, you can do a couple more things with opening the jaw, which I'll get to here in a second when we get to the action feature. But yeah, so really simple articulation for this toy. Definitely, somewhat of a negative, I would say, for people that really like to make their toys, roar way up high or dip down or whatever you do with your displays or whatever. This figure is really going to be tied into this neutral pose and that action feature. So, but yeah, detail wise, look at this thing. Very simple paint colorations, has this stripes that go all the way down to the tip of the tail, which is actually cast in plastic, so it doesn't paint doesn't rub. Then you have this lighter color throughout the entire body. The face, I want to point out, has some really nice details because not only do you have those great rubber teeth that I love to talk about in a very nicely glossy plastic pink mouth, you have, like, of course, the eye, but there's just this nice light wash on the whole face that gives the head a little bit extra detail. I don't know if you can pick that up in that 4K resolution, but there's almost like a wash on it, that kind of settles into the scales. That looks really nice. It's an effect that only looks like it's on this top piece of plastic, but it makes the face look that much more realistic because there's a little more tone to it versus just a solid color of plastic. So that looks really cool. Spinosaurus, the face design looks really cool. I don't know if that's what's going like in the movie, but for the toy, it looks incredible. Love the little nostril there and all the teeth. Again, the rubber teeth just look so cool. So yeah, simple use of paint. The claws don't look, they look painted, but they're actually this new plastic piece they're doing. You can see the scan code there for anybody that needs the scan code, but they're doing this plastic piece that lets them look like painted claws, but it's just a piece of plastic. It actually looks really good because then you don't have to worry about scratching your painted nails while your figure's running around. Oh, and I just noticed as I was playing around with this, I kept hitting the tail on the ground. But it's nice, again, that this is just that cast plastic color. So you don't have to worry about any kind of damage to your figure while you manipulate it and maybe drop it even. But let's go ahead and do that action feature because that's kind of the main event here. There's a little tab button right here. You can see it's kind of integrated into the sail. When you press that once, it kind of charges this action feature, but they really encourage you to press it a bunch of times and kind of get that mechanical action going. So if I press it a bunch of times, you can see that he of course snaps back and forth. Really cool. And his tail is also wagging this whole time too, and it has a really cool, now you can really get an idea of the tail. And yeah, it just keeps making noise and doing this repetitive action, but again, it looks really cool. And I think I wonder if there's an off switch, so I could at least do it while there's no sound. I guess not. You have to listen to me talk about this while it makes all this noise. But what I really like about this is kids can hit the action feature and then walk away from it a little bit and let it do its own thing while they play with other dinosaurs around it. Well, look, on my table, he kind of rocks back and forth too. I would think on carpet, he's maybe a little more stable than my table, but yeah, see, look, he actually moves on my table, which is funny. But you can see you can kind of let him sit there and he does his thing. So yeah, really cool natural motion. And of course you get those sound effects too, which I assume are based on a movie. But before we get into comparisons, I just want to take one last look at this gorgeous figure. Just because individually it's really something to behold without even having to compare it to the other Mattel figures. It's just huge. It really uses the unique silhouette sail of the new Spinosaurus. I love the big giant neck and head. This design overall has just really grown on me. And this figure is just a testament to how cool Spino is going to look in that new movie. This is just an awesome toy. So really cool stuff. I can't wait for everyone else to get a hold of this one. So let's go ahead and start with those comparisons. I do want to start with just the most obvious one, which is against another Mattel Spinosaurus. What I have here is the most recent battle damage version. This is the last probably version of this Spinosaurus that Mattel will make. I'd imagine they'll either get a riff off the Rebirth one or something like the new Super Colossal mold is a little more accurate, or even the Hammond collection. But this is the last one they made. This was always a very cool figure. It's been 3 or 4 versions of this if you don't count canceled figures. And yeah, it's nice and big and long. It always scaled well against with the T-Rex. And this Spinosaurus is essentially, you know, more or less the same size as that. Is the tail maybe a little bit shorter? Definitely. But the figure actually looks bigger in terms of the plastic it uses compared to Mattel's previous one. It's a little bulkier and more solid. But you can see just from the... Ooh, sorry, guys. You can see just from the paint details, or the sculpt details, I should say, though, just how much more like detailed and you know, a little bit more film accurate detail has gone into the Rebirth Spinosaurus face versus that you know, I guess what I would call an original design from Mattel, sort of based on a Jurassic Spinosaurus, but also heavily stylized compared to this very, you know, realistic looking film design Spinosaurus. So neither of these guys want to stand up on my wobbly table. I'm not blaming that on Mattel. I'm blaming it on my wobbly review table that is more or less always shaking as I move toys around on it. But you can get an idea, again, just of how similar these figures are, and really, again, how much of an improvement, at least aesthetically, that new Rebirth version is. And while we're talking about, you know, Spinosaurids and that kind of thing, I did want to compare this one to Suchomimus over here. This is the latest Chaos Theory Suchomimus, which is an awesome figure, and not you know, not a small figure. And you can see just how much bigger the Rebirth Spinosaurus is compared to that new Suchomimus. And then just for one more, you know, somewhat adjacent comparison, we have the new Wild Roar Baryonyx from Rebirth. Oh my gosh, yeah, he really wants to fall down all the time. All these guys want to fall down all the time, but you can get an idea, again, of just how big this new Rebirth Spinosaurus is, and how slippery he is on my table as he scoots all around. So yeah, I'll go ahead and take these guys off. Let's move on to another comparison. Let's go ahead and move into something a little more Rebirth specific here. I'm gonna see if I can get this guy to maybe stand up a little more. Yeah, I think if I pivot his foot out, that helps immensely, which I keep forgetting to do. So we'll pivot his feet out, and hopefully he stands a little better for us on my house of my card table. That's literally somewhat like a house of cards, and how floppy it is. Okay, there we go. D-Rex, Distortus Rex in frame with the Spinosaurus. You can see these are both just massive new feature figures from Mattel. I think they're the same price. Maybe the Distortus is about $10 more, but they're both very equally, I guess, equipped feature figures in terms of detail and electronics and action feature and all that stuff. So, and the size-wise, Spinosaurus is every bit as big as Distortus Rex. I almost want to say Spinosaurus seems oversized when I start to get into these other Rebirth toy comparisons. Because even when we get the the Lab Lockdown Rex, the Rebirth Rex figure that I have right now, which scales really nicely with Distortus. He definitely seems smaller than Spinosaurus, which if we look at the Spinosaurus in the trailers anyway, they seem like they're smaller than the T-Rex. This is definitely a massive version of this species. Here it is again with a human character. But then again, I think of that part in the trailer where it's, you know, clamoring on the boat trying to eat that person. I mean, this does seem sort of in the right scale, but again, in those movies they kind of flub the scale scene to scene. Now the Mosasaurus scale will get huge, like kaiju huge, and then be like as big as a whale in the next scene. So who knows, maybe they're fudging the scale a little bit, but in any case, he seems massive compared to a lot of these other Rebirth figures I have. I think once we get the Power Devour T-Rex, it could scale a little better, but you know, right now it definitely dwarfs the Rebirth T-Rex we have. And here's Quetzalcoatlus, who is big in its own right. I think it scales just fine next to Spinosaurus. But yeah, I mean, all these figures are huge. We'll get the Titanosaurus in here soon, and there's just a lot of cool, big electronic and non-electronic, if you count the Rex, feature figures for Jurassic World Rebirth. But I do think Distortus Rex, as cool as it is going to be challenged by this new tail thrashing Spinosaurus as the most popular, the have-to-get toy from Jurassic World Rebirth. I think it's going to be this one right now, because it's just, again, a beautiful figure, neutral, has a really great snappy action feature. It's got limited posability, but it's very durable and great film detail. Again, totally matches what we're, seeing in the movie. And, if you're upset about the scale or upset about the articulation, there's that other Spinosaurus set coming out with the 2 human figures. So there's something for everybody, but I would definitely recommend this one if you are a longtime Jurassic toy collector and you're looking for that feature figure to get from Rebirth. You can do worse than this incredible tail thrashing Spinosaurus with all those cool electronic features and of course this awesome looking design. So yeah, awesome figure. Can't recommend it enough. My latest cool Rebirth toy. Definitely check out my other videos if you want to see me unbox and review Distortus Rex, that T-Rex, and some other ones, Quetzalcoatlus, all up on the channel for you to take a look at. But I think that's all I have to say about Tail Thrasher Spino here. Again, I'm Tim with Collect Jurassic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.